Hey kids, greetings from Hey kids, greetings from the dank basement. I am your wicked Uncle Squinty, Paul Shellbetter. This isn't really a pipe tobacco review. I just felt like spending a little time with you and having a little pipe full of tobacco and talking about an interesting concept for pipe smokers everywhere in the world that you might not have thought of. Maybe you do it anyway. A lot of smokers do. A lot of pipe smokers do. Butter knife tamper. I swear I looked for like an hour. I cannot find one check tool. I can't find my Danny Shore tamper. I can't find my Brigham all-in-one capsulized. It's very cool. Nothing. So I had to pull out a butter knife to smoke this. Lane's RLP6 is a mix of Cavendishes. It's really delicious. You get both a little bit of a chocolate flavor to this and a little bit of a vanilla or marshmallow sort of flavor. Like most of Lane's aromatics, this is probably a version of Captain Black, but with a lot less propylene glycol in it. And I suspect a better quality tobacco underneath everything. Lane has a nice tobacco they mix with their Latakia and the RLP6. It's called HGL for, I think it's Henry G. Lane, the founder, and it was his favorite blend. That's also very good, but my wife and I have a moratorium on me smoking Latakia in the house. So, well, it's not really a moratorium. It was the threat of violent death, and I surrendered. No, it wasn't. My wife is actually very tolerant of my smoking. So let's talk a little bit about the pensioner's jar. In days of old in London, many tobacco stores kept a jar where they would throw tail ends of tobacco stock. If you got down to the bottom of the jar, there was less than an ounce in the jar of tobacco. They would just simply dump that jar into the pensioner's bin or pensioner's jar. And after they had filled the jar with a variety of tobaccos, sort of a random mix, whatever ran out first, typically got put into the pensioner's jar. And once that jar was full, they would sell it, but at a greatly reduced price. And this helped out poor retired folks be able to afford to continue with their pipe smoking habit, the pensioner's jar. And I thought to myself, this happens to me. I will get down to a tin of flake tobacco, and there will be those 3 or 4 strands, not enough to make a pipe, just a few ribbons of tobacco, throw it in the jar. You get down to the bottom of a favorite aromatic. You maybe have half a bowlful, throw it in the jar. Keep the jar tightly sealed, just like you would any of your other cellared tobaccos, but keep it handy. This is good for a couple of things. First of all, it's really, really fun to see what you end up with and see if you are intuitively a tobacco blender. I think it helps if you sort of mix like kinds of tobacco. I think that it would be a very good idea, for instance, to keep your English blends together, but you never know. Now, there are pensioner's jar products that are already made for you. I think it's the Gambler series of tobaccos. I'm not quite sure, sold by, who sells that? Is it Smoking Pipes or Pipes and Cigars? I really don't remember. But they have, 3 different blends. They've got one that is a Virginia heavy. There's quite a lot of burley, though, in there, frankly. They've got a mixed burley blend that has an interesting fruit cake aroma to it in the jar, in the bag. But when you smoke it, it's kind of a hodgepodge of burleys, and it has quite a lot of nicotine. And then they've got an English version. So this is something that's already being done, but it's fun to do it yourself because you know what your favorite tobaccos are. Also, you can sort of play around with blending. As you go along through your pensioner's jar, you may think to yourself, this could use a little more vanilla, or this could use a little more red Virginia, or this could use a little more leftover Prince Albert or Captain Black or whatever, Carter Hall. And just mix it. Don't be a snob. And it's fun, and you might find something really delicious when you finish with the whole mess. But the second thing is this. This is a good thing to have around in case you run out of tobacco, you can't get to the tobacco store, it's going to take you too long to internet order it. This is a great thing you can do for yourself, and it keeps you from wasting tobacco too. I'm a cheapskate. I really, 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 really hate throwing tobacco away. Even if it's not expensive tobacco, even if it's the 250 an ounce Lane products you can buy bulk or whatever, even if it's cheap tobacco, I don't like to throw it away. So it's good to have it around. Another thing I've done is done a pensioner's jar, a small one, exclusively out of bits of very high-end flake tobaccos. I have a pensioner's jar somewhere, I can't find it, but it contains approximately now maybe a bowl of Stonehaven in it, maybe a bowl of Tudor Castle. It's got some Dunhill flake shards in there, some of the Solani 660 silver that I reviewed earlier today. It's got a lot of, but very nice tobaccos, all sort of the same genre, with the exception of the Tudor Castle, of course, which has Perique. And I'm treating it as if it's a tobacco that I'm going to cellar and mature and watch and see how it improves. And I bet I end up with something very, very good. And there's no reason you couldn't combine, for instance, 1792 with, let's say, Dunhill's Navy Rolls. So you don't have to do this with cheap tobaccos by any means. If you only smoke top-end tobaccos, you can still do a pensioner's jar. Why not? So, as I said, fun to find out what you come up with. You've got tobacco that you've really lost nothing if you don't come up with a good blend. And it can sort of save you if you should, for whatever stupid reason, run out of tobacco. So that's it. I have a couple of pensioner's jars going now. I've got an English going, and I've got a Burley, and I'm not happy with the Burley, but I'm pretty happy with the English at this point. The Burley, like I said, it smells like fruitcake, and it tastes kind of weird, and it's got really strange burn characteristics. It's also way too vanilla heavy. So that's not turning out well. I've got some bulk Virginia that's a little bit stale that I might throw in there. And that's another thing too. You tend to re-moisten, rehydrate the tobacco that's already in the jar as you add each new little bit, each new little dib or dab, because it's going to have, we hope, fairly high moisture content when you throw it in there. And you don't need to, for instance, rehumidify, rehydrate the tobacco or whatever. So anyway, that's it. Think about a pensioner's jar. RLP6 is a very good aromatic. I do not remember the Captain Black equivalent. This may be the Captain Black White. No, that's BCA. Lane BCA is the Captain Black White. I don't know. But many of the Lane flavors you can buy in your local drugstore as Captain Black. But remember, if you do, you'll be paying a much higher price. It has way more propylene glycol to keep the tobacco moist for ages on the drugstore shelf. And it also has, I think, maybe a little bit worse tobacco and a little bit more of the casing. So Captain Black can get goopy and ashy at the bottom of the bowl, whereas the Lane equivalent in their bulk never does. So you tell me. Anyway, thanks for sitting and smoking with me for a minute. I appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful Easter. I appreciate all the views. Hello to all my friends in the YouTube pipe smoking community. I don't know if such a thing still exists, if there is that same sense of community that there was when I started. I hope there is, because individual members of the Y.T.P.C. helped me an awful lot when I returned to pipe smoking 5 years ago. I've gotten gifts of pipes and tobaccos to try. I've gotten great advice from people who really know what they're talking about, a lot of laughs, and it's a wonderful experience. So if you are a pipe smoker, just slug any video you post or any comments you make with the letters Y.T.P.C. I will know that you are one of us, whatever that means. You're in the tribe, man. Now you can have the jacket and everything. It's really cool. It's made out of Naugahyde. Naugahyde. Yeah, now you can be in the club. You can get an official club jacket made with Naugahyde. Guys, have a happy Easter. Bye-bye.